We are in February at Glendoick. It's time to think about planting potatoes. Potatoes are absolutely one of those vegetables. If you're a beginner grower and you've not grown anything before, potatoes are almost a surefire hit. You plant 10 little potatoes and you'll get kilos and kilos of potatoes to harvest in the summertime. They're a great beginner's plant. Some of the vegetables that you grow, you might find your family being a little resistant to the radishes that you've grown, but potatoes, they'll definitely eat them. These little ones here are taster packs. They usually have 8 to 10 potatoes in, and they're great if you want to try several different varieties, maybe an early, a second early, and a main crop, and you haven't got that much room, then this is a nice way to do it. Alternately, these are the traditional 2.5 kilogram bags of potatoes, and that will be enough for really a good crop of them. Don't think that all the potatoes look the same. We've got an amazing range. This one here is Highland Burgundy Red. It has a kind of red staining in the middle of the potato. And then another one, another unusual, another Scottish variety. This one here is called Salad Blue. There's another one called Shetland Black, very similar. These actually have purple staining inside the potato, and even after you've cooked them, they look purple. I recommend steaming this one. If you try and boil it, it goes to a fairly mushy mess. The best thing to do with this is to steam it. It stops it falling to bits. But it's an amazing thing. It'll scare your children if you serve this up. And my favourite is this little one here called Anya, which was bred just down the road at the Scottish Research Institute in Invergary. Very small, tubular potato, absolutely delicious. Doesn't have an enormous yield, but if I had one potato that I could use, it would probably be this one. Very unusual shape, really nice salad potato. Now, some people like to get their potatoes off to a really fast start by doing something called chitting them. Basically what that means is taking these little seed potatoes and starting them off inside so they produce little sprouts from the eyes here that are just starting to show the first green at the moment. A couple of ways of doing them. One is that you can fill an egg box up like this. Make sure the eyes are pointing upwards so that the foliage is going to grow upwards. And then you keep them misted to stop the foliage wilting. You don't want them to get too hot. A cool north-facing window is a great place to do it. And then when the shoots are about 1 inch, 2 centimeters long, you can then plant them out in the garden. The idea of this is to get the potatoes off to the fastest possible start so that you get early potatoes really early in the season. 2 things you need to be careful of when you're planting these. One is not to knock the sprouts off. They're very delicate. And the second thing is that potato sprouts are frost tender. So when you plant them, you need to mound up the soil around them so the frost can't get at them. And as the potatoes start to grow, keep mounding up the soil to keep the frost off. If they get frosted, you'll probably lose your potatoes. So potatoes are quite greedy plants. They need plenty of nitrogen, plenty of food. Ideally, if you've got access to dung, that's a fantastic thing to dig in before you start planting your potatoes. If you don't have access to that, then potato food is fantastic. Put some into the rows when you plant the potatoes in the spring, and then you can give them a top-up during the growing season. You'll get a better yield of potatoes if you give them plenty of nitrogen, and this is particularly formulated for growing potatoes and other vegetables.